Look, man. Look. I don't want people saying that I'm mean. I'm sorry. I don't want people saying that I'm mean after I show you this story. So here you have a video. There's going to be a video of a girl who's going to talk about how her mother was basically a stripper back in the day that used to mess with powerful people, meaning sleep with powerful people for money. So stripper slash escort. She, you know what I mean, was probably a lot of powerful men's side pieces, politicians, how she messed with politicians and these people, and how she got killed. And nobody really wants to do some investigating and how we should feel bad for her about it. But let's take a listen to her story about her 304 mother. And like I said, I don't want people talking about I'm mean. Let's take a listen. Let's hear her out. Let's hear her out.
My mom was a very popular stripper in the early 2000s, and as you can imagine, that industry you meet a lot of powerful, rich, famous people. My mom ended up having an affair with the mayor of the city, who was married at the time. So, yeah, things got messy, and the mayor of Detroit's wife actually assaulted my mother. Instead of paying my mother hush money, the mayor decided to pay off cops in the city to murder my mother. There's a lot of key points to
She talking way too slow. Let's speed it up. Let's speed it up. Yes, sir. Let's speed it up.
my mother's story, but to make things a little shorter, she was murdered in a drive-by with police issued guns. I worked in the industry myself, so I've met people who knew my mother, seen her around the mayor, and they do not want any parts of my mother's case. So to this day, it's an unsolved murder. There has been many podcasts, news channels reporting on my mother's story, a book written, a play produced, but after so many years of trying to fight for justice, I have been a standing lone wolf and I've grown very tired. So the former mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, actually ended up going to prison for various other things after reports of my mother's
She naming names now. She naming names now.
death. Some people think he's great. Some people think he's a terrible, terrible man. But thanks to Donald Trump being his longtime friend in that industry, he pardoned him a few years ago. So,
oh, blame the orange man. Let's all blame the orange man.
Now the man responsible for my mother's murder is just living his happily ever after life.
I bet you he is. Look, man, I'm gonna replay this for you.
My mom.
I'm gonna play it at 1.5 speed because she talk way too slow. But look here, guys. Look here, man. Look here, guys. I don't feel bad, and neither should you. But like I said, look at the top comment. The person that reposted this never heard the story, but I'm certainly gonna look it up. They y'all gotta pay, and it's one of those fake anime ninjas that think life is a movie and shit. Ninja, stop. Ninja, please stop. Stop. Look, she's pretty. Trust me. I understand what that is. She's pretty. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me not be disrespectful, but she's pretty, so you want to help her out, and I trust me, I understand that. But this is not her story. Is not worth risking my life. That story, like if I was a reporter and I was like, okay, let me see what this story's about. Some escort 304 used to mess with some politicians. Conveniently, she dies in a drive-by. Obviously, that's most likely not a coincidence. We understand how this game works, and if I did some reporting, and then some people from the mayor like, look, listen here, man, you can talk about anything else, but don't talk about this. I'll be like, all right. Hey, yo, I'll be like, all right. I won't even try to get smart with him, man. How much you finna pay me? I'll be like, I'll drop it. And they'll be like, really? You're not asking for it? Like, I'll drop it. You won't see me. I'll make sure it won't drop. I'm the only one that knows about the story, so don't worry about it. But even me in that position, I won't even touch a story like this. Of course, people are not going to touch that damn story. So let's replay. I'm about to break this down to you real quick. Let me break this down real quick.
Was a very popular stripper in the early 2000s, and as you can imagine,
so right there, popular stripper in the early 2000s, which means not only was she stripping, she was also an escort as well.
Powerful, rich, famous people. My mom ended up having an affair with the mayor of the.
So, like, confirmed, she was messing with famous people. That doesn't mean just the athletes and all that stuff. That means politicians. Now, I'm just saying, if you are an escort and you messing with politicians, people, FBI, because I know people, I know women like this. they think that it's just all sweet, and you're just like, bruh, you have no idea if you out of line, if you go out of pocket just a little bit, it's sayonara for you. We all know how this works.
The city, who was married at the time. So yeah, things got messy, and
so she was a side chick, and so she said things got messy. So
and the mayor of Detroit's wife actually assaulted my mother. Instead of paying my mother hush money, the mayor decided to pay off cops in the city to murder my mother.
So I already know what happened, because this is what happens. I might be wrong, but this is just too predictable. This is just too predictable, because the man was married, right? Now, you said things got messy, and you already know what that means is, look, you better leave your, she was probably on some BS talking about, look, if you don't pay me this, if you don't give me that, I'm going to expose us to your wife. Something like that. Either that, or she was like, I need you to leave your wife for me so I can be the number one in the number one slot. I think it's number one, though. I think it's number one, where it's like, oh, like where the money wasn't enough. Like she was trying to extort that man for more money. That's what I think happened. She tried to play a dirty game back with some dirty people, and you found out that you're dealing with people that got you talking about trying to play a dirty game, but you got people that are so used to having a different type of shovel out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, like for real. Like, so you have, man. Look, this is not a game, man. This is not a toy. I think that's what she tried to extort that dude. If it's not that, or number two, she tried to be like, look, I need you to leave your wife for me, because you felt felt a certain type of way, which is very common. Probably saw the mayor with this situation, especially it really slaps those 304s in the face when it's literally like they're at like a gala at a ball, and the mayor is getting an award for something, and then he has everybody clapping for him, right? And then you have his wife and his kids on the I need you to bring my beautiful wife up here. Well, why don't you bring her? And once they show that she feels a certain type of way, oh, I need you to increase this payment here, or it's either that, or I need you to leave your wife for me, or blah blah blah. But it's most likely you try to extort money from him because you were feeling a certain type of way because you're the side chick, even though she's an escort. This is what be happening. I keep telling you, side chicks are they're what they call it, the variable. They're the X factor. You don't ever know what they're gonna do. They're just unstable. And these will be the same women talking about I'm happily single. And I always know that when they say that, I know that's cap, because when they're so-called happily single, once they end up being the side chick to somebody, most of them don't play their role. Most of them don't play their role. They don't. And it's like, I'm just saying, if you're happily single, wouldn't you be trying to protect? I'm just saying, but that's another. But that's what I believe. She tried to extort that man. That's what I believe. That you can't be playing that kind of dirty game when you're dealing with politicians.
There's a lot of key points to my mother's story, but to make things a little shorter, she was murdered in a drive-by with police-issued guns.
So, according to her, the mayor had some cops take care of the problem. Now, that's common. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong, but consequences have actions. I mean, what would I say? Actions have consequences. I sounded retarded real quick. Actions have consequences. There we go.
I worked in the industry myself, so I've met people who knew my mother, seen her around the mayor, and
so she's a 304 just like her mama.
They do not want any parts of my mother's.
Oh, and she's wearing scrubs, so she's a nurse. Surprise, surprise.
So to this day, it's an unsolved murder. There has been many podcasts, news channels reporting on my mother's story, a book written, a play produced, but after so many years of trying to fight for justice, I have been a standing lone wolf, and I've grown very tired.
Fight for justice, ninja. This is like, look, man, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know why she's mad that people don't want to touch that. Of course, people don't want to touch that story. They're not trying to get killed. And then on top of that, they're looking at the situation like, okay, this is an escort trying to extort money from a politician because she felt some type of way. And And you want me to put my neck on the line to protect a 304 from a Negro mayor from Detroit. Please.
So the former mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, actually ended up going to prison for
So she put her name out there. That's crazy.
various other things after reports of my mother's death. Some people think he's great. Some people think he's a terrible, terrible man. But
Look, man. I'll say this, and people might disagree with me. Just because something went awry with a man and a 304, to me, that doesn't take points away from him as a man, in my opinion. Only because I know it sounds messed up, but women are just too unpredictable. They're too unpredictable. You know, you can literally have all your ducats in order. You get this is my concubine, this is my situation. Even if you have a stable situation and you stick with your stable situation, whatever women that are in his life, particularly that he's intimate with, which would have been his wife, whatever, they're too much of an X factor where it could jeopardize everything. For example, if Coretta Scott King could have literally put MLK out there because the feds went to Coretta Scott King and allegedly showed her his exploits on the road, if you know what I mean. But she didn't turn her back on him because she put the movement first. But if she felt a certain type of way, how about this? If she decided to act, that could have derailed the whole movement. You know what I mean? So I don't ever say, "Oh, you're not a good man if you cheat." No, I can never say that because women are way too much of an unconstant variable. It's really hard to deal with them in general. They're just, you can literally do nothing, and just one false accusation can ruin your whole. You know what I mean? So they're too much of a flight risk for me to say, oh, because if a man did this with a woman, that means he's not a great man. What if, I don't know, Kwame K, whatever, what work he did, he probably did good work. It's just he messed up with that one broad, and she was getting away in his paper, and he had to protect his assets. That's how it works, young lady. I'm sorry.
Thanks to Donald Trump being his longtime friend in that industry.
So this, like I said, for her to mention that, she's just trying to add Orange Man in there because Orange Man bad, right? So because Orange Man bad and because Kwame Kilpatrick and Donald Trump are boys, that means he's bad too. Female logic.
Him a few years ago. So now the man responsible for my mother's murder is just living his happily ever after life.
And I bet you that's what he's doing. Look, people were mad when Corey Holcomb had said Ray Caruth was protecting his assets. And if people understood what he was trying to say, people shouldn't be mad at what he said. In that Ray Caruth situation, the woman was playing games. He didn't want the kid. He thought they were in agreement that they don't want the kid, but she tried to put an old Uno reverse on him. And I'm finna keep the kid. And we all know why she's keeping the kid, for monetary purposes. And we already know NFL players' money, it just don't work, especially from back in the day. You know what I mean? It don't work. It don't work. It didn't that money was not that money be running funny. You know what I'm saying? So he took it upon himself, like, look, like Corey Holcomb said, if I kill the bitch, I don't got to worry about it no more. You be surprised how people think that way. You getting away with people's paper. That's how they think. You know what I mean? So you cannot be at war with this man's everything that he's worked for, just for some 304 to come along and think she's in charge and try to make demands and think you're not going to get dealt with. I'm sorry. If you want to play those kind of games with these people, and we already know what those people are all about, I mean, have at thee. If you want to play those games with those people. But now let's look at some of the comments, because I already know there was some comments I had liked already. I Somebody said her death had nothing to do with Mayor Kilpatrick. She was with the wrong person at the wrong time. They were trying to kill the man she was in the car with over a drug beef. Now, that's probably the cover. They probably set her up with the drug dealer that she was messing with at the time. Make sure they're all at the same place so they can make sure it looks like a drug deal gone wrong. That's very common. You know what I mean? Oh, man. He said, so she did the same thing her mama did. If you knew what she was doing and how she died, why not take a different path? Well, that's mm. You know, like I said, attention is a drug, bro. Attention is a hell of a drug, bro. Since release, Kilpatrick has worked as an ordained minister, motivational speaker, consultant, and certified character coach. That ninja is a whole hustler, dog. Yeah, she was messing with a real street. This was a street ninja in an office. They had so Detroit had a street ninja. They be having street ninjas in the office, man. But hey, look, man. Look here, man. Uh-oh. Here we go. Right here. This is the comment I was looking for. He said, tragic story. I'll play devil advocate. Devil advocate here, though. Devil's advocate here. Her mother worked in the industry knowing a lot of powerful people, which we all know being in that position most of the time is a grimy position. And you do things to people that hurt and unforgivable. Not saying that's her case. That is her case, in my opinion. But it's a big chance she willingly slept with a married, powerful man. From storylines I read, him, his wife, and his mistress were some loving but power-hungry type people. That's no surprise. We usually attract what we are. The company we keep speaks a lot about our characters. Her being killed is tragic and would take nothing away from death. I asked the question, though, what happened to live by the sword, die by the sword? She was a person who tried to play tug of war with others who have more power than her. So right here, let's skip along. He said, but let's not act like she's a victim of her own circumstances. Bingo. That's what I was looking for. In this story, in this particular story, I don't consider her a victim. No, that's not, to me, she's just a participant. This is a participant. This is a volunteer in this game. And she did not come out on the winning side. Shout out to Corey Holcomb. He said something very similar many years ago. You know what I mean? She's not a victim to the game. She was a participant, but she didn't get what she wanted out of the situation, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So I hope people don't take this wrong. But I just don't see her as the victim there. And any reporter or somebody, author trying to take on this story, you guys would be fools to do so.